ESPN college football insider Trevor Matich. Trevor, good to have you with us again.
Great to be back after a massive victory, huh?
The Cougars score 70 for the first time in 14 years. Again, it was Wagner, but what did you see from BYU against the Wagner Seahawks that you wanted to see?
I saw two things. One, that they were able to get their starters some rest. Finally, it's been such a amazingly relentless grind all season. They finally got to let those guys out there break a sweat, have some success, and then let the backups go in. And then the second thing was the backups. They let the backups play the game. A lot of people are upset because BYU puts up 40 points or 70 points against Wagner, but they were still throwing the ball. But the thing is, they needed to. The backup quarterbacks needed to throw. The backup receivers needed to catch, get tackled downfield, and hold on to the ball. The backup offensive lineman needed to protect the passer. And it doesn't make much sense to have guys like that go in and just run out the clock, and that's their only experience, because down the road they may need to go in when it's real and pick up the real offense, not just the run out the clock offense. So I thought everybody did well, from the coaches right down to the backups farthest down the depth chart.
And I thought it was when BYU scheduled this game, Wagner had won 2 of the last 3 conference championships. Then they came into the game 0-6, and so it ended up being what it was. BYU stays healthy. They executed at a high level. I agree with you. I thought it was a good day. So how should fans weigh what they saw and against who BYU played?
Well, fans, BYU did not play Alabama, but I think BYU fans are sophisticated enough to know what the Cougars needed to get out of this game, and they got it out of this game. I think BYU fans also are sophisticated enough to know that they weren't dumping on Wagner when they continue to keep the pedal down. And so I think what they should take away from it is really a sigh of relief that BYU got through October 4-0, September 2-2. Now here they are at 6-2 with a bye week, and then San Jose State coming up. And so I think what BYU fans need to take away from now the season as a whole heading into the bye week is that these guys fought like madmen. Came within 1 point of beating UCLA and being 7-1, but 6-2 is still pretty good. And considering the schedule that they played, because they could have lost all those games in September. They came out 2-2, and so this is a place where BYU fans, can exercise their sophistication in understanding the flow of a college football season and appreciate the Wagner game for what it was.
Trevor Matich of ESPN with us on BYU Sports Nation, 1984 BYU national champion, ESPN college football insider. What did you think of Bo Hodge, the son of one of your ESPN comrades, Mara Hodge, and his play in that backup quarterback role?
I think Bo did a great job. I mean, he can run the ball, which they need. Run the ball certainly more than Tanner Mangum does, and I thought that was good that he showed that. And running the ball, he broke a few tackles. He spun away from some other tackles. He secured the ball pretty well. These are things that he needed to do. And then throwing the ball, he had some nice throws. And that builds his confidence. I mean, the East Carolina game when he came in subbing for Mangum when he was dinged with a hamstring injury, it didn't go so well for Bo. That's a tough situation to come into, and the fact that he was able to play in this game and play well, knowing that it was in first gear because of the Wagner defense, but also knowing that when you're in first gear, you still have to execute first gear, and he did a really, really good job. Keep this in mind, that the most important thing for a young backup quarterback to be able to do is get out there when there's not a net, where any mistake remains a mistake, any interception, and you're off the field. You don't just run the next play in practice, where the defense is moving around, trying to confuse you, trying to fool you, and they're hitting you for real. Now, even though it's just Wagner, all those emotions are still the same. And the fact that he was able to get out of the blocks, get into first gear, and play well was a very, very important moment for BYU football this season, because now he's much, much, much better prepared to take over if something happens to Tanner.
Now you look at BYU with the bye week and then November coming up. BYU sitting at 6-2, bowl eligible, chance to really do some damage down the stretch. Missouri's not impressed as much as we thought. Utah State got blown out by San Diego State. So now it looks like BYU has a shot at running the table. What percentage chance would you give BYU to do that?
They've got a good chance. I mean, I don't want to jinx them, but I would say something to the effect of 80%, 70, 80%, because you just look at it week to week, and Missouri still is a tough out. even though they've struggled, their defense is really, really good. Statistically, one of the best defenses in the country. Still get after the quarterback exceptionally well. And just because of that side of the ball alone, BYU, it will be a real quality win if BYU is able to beat Missouri. But I think, and Utah State will be a tough out. Utah State forced 7 turnovers against Boise State in the first half when they beat Boise. I mean, Utah State is real. So, you know, it will be difficult to win out. But I give them about a 75-80% chance because I trust BYU football to stay focused. I trust the players to not read their own hype and get away from what got them to this point, which is that relentless, urgent focus on the details of preparation. That's what got them here. And I trust them to keep with that, and therefore I trust them to run the table.
BYU now 11 days away from San Jose State. What's the right mindset the Cougars need to have during the bye week and going into a game that on paper they should win and it shouldn't be close?
You know, that's a great question because physically during the bye week they need to make sure that the guys that need rest get the rest. But mentally, every single one of them need to treat this bye week as extra preparation for the Rose Bowl, for the Super Bowl, for the championship, because San Jose State's 4-4. They're not great. They're not horrible. They've got a running back that if you give him an inch, he will run for 300 yards on you, and he's done that this year. But BYU should be able to beat them unless they don't focus on preparation. And when you play a team like San Jose State that sees this as their Super Bowl, then you're susceptible to getting injured. I mean, actual creating injuries. If you roll your helmet out on the field and expect the other team just to roll over, that's not going to happen with San Jose State. And so the right mindset, even while they're being protected physically where they need to be, the right mindset is to have every meeting, every practice, every conditioning and training room session as if this game coming up against San Jose State were for a spot in the college football playoff. Now, if they focus mentally like that, the coaches will take care of them physically, and they'll take care of business against San Jose State.
I agree with you. Tyler Irvin, we'll talk about him more next week, but almost 1,200 yards rushing and 12 touchdowns already. Let's talk national now. Who are your top 4 teams after, week 8?
After week 8, my top 4 teams are Ohio State. Their offense is coming back around. I like that J.T. Barrett is back in there. They're still not where they were last year at the end of the year offensively in terms of their precision, but they're getting it back. Baylor, even though Baylor may have lost their quarterback, their backup, Jarrett Stidham, is very, very good. And they still have fantastic skill players, fantastic offensive line. I think Baylor is still a top 4-worthy team. Clemson deserves to be there. Clemson is playing better and better all the time. And then number 4 is the tough spot for me. Number 4. Now, if I just take who's best on the field, I've got to take Alabama. Their defense is suffocating. Their offense is getting better and better. But it's tough for me to pick them over Stanford. I think Stanford is playing exceptionally well as well. But if I had to pick one of those 2 teams for number 4, it's Alabama.
So no love for LSU, TCU, or Michigan State?
Love LSU, but their defense is good, not great, and they're still emerging with their quarterback, Brandon Harris. I don't trust him fully yet. TCU has had epic injuries on defense, and so the team that's on the field right now is not the same team that was on the field in the opener. Although their offense can outscore people, but I worry about that defense. And Michigan State, even though they're undefeated at 7-0, they've got epic injuries on the offensive line, and their defense has been way too easy to throw against. So part of what you have to look at is who is the team that's on the field right now, not just what have they done in the past with other players. These are not the same players for TCU and for Michigan State because of the injuries.
Trevor, so you believe that the Pac-12 will be the conference that is a Power 5 conference left out of the college football playoff?
It's very possible. Utah losing to USC the way they lost, they lose benefit of the doubt. Even if they go on and win the Pac-12, the committee will have the excuse to say, yeah, but in their loss, they got obliterated by a team that was, 3-3, I think, coming into that. So that's bad for the Pac-12. Now there is no remaining undefeated Pac-12 team. If Clemson goes on and wins the ACC and wins out, and if they're undefeated, an undefeated Clemson would be chosen, I believe, over a one-loss Utah or Stanford Pac-12 champion. So that game for the Pac-12 that Utah, they stubbed their toe out there in Los Angeles, that was a really big negative for the Pac-12.
Stubbed their toe, broke their arm, right?
Yeah, well, pretty much, and the question here is Travis Wilson. What in the world happened to him? He's one of the quarterbacks that I fully trusted coming into this game, and he made some decision that I'm very curious to hear the explanations for, because they didn't make much sense based on what he's done this year so far.
Now you look at a team like, in a conference like the American, now, and this is interesting. I personally don't think that if they have an undefeated champion, let's say it's Memphis, Temple still in the mix, Houston still in the mix, they will have gone through a gauntlet of beating Ole Miss, maybe a couple undefeated and ranked teams at the time. They'll have 13 wins potentially. Do they have any shot into the playoff? An undefeated American?
Yeah, they do, and I think the team with the best opportunity for that would be Memphis. Check that, Temple. And the reason is Temple has already got a win over a Penn State team who their only other loss, Penn State, is Ohio State. No other team so far this year has beaten Penn State except for Ohio State and Temple. That looks good to the committee. Now Temple hosts Notre Dame, another highly ranked team. And if they beat Notre Dame, then they'll have a chance to play Houston and Memphis in their own conference. Both teams will probably be ranked at the time they play, and that will be the best resume of all. I think Houston probably has the best team among those undefeated teams in the American, Houston, Memphis, Temple, but they won't have a chance to play a highly ranked team out of conference. They'll play Memphis and Temple either in the regular season or in the postseason in the conference championship game, but they won't get that signature out of conference win, where Temple has already got one against Penn State, and they've got a chance for a massive one in prime time against Notre Dame. So Temple's the team to watch for in the American with the best chance to get into the playoff. Now, that's just a playoff. One of those teams will probably be in the New Year's Six Bowls, but playoff, you need the body of work to give the committee an excuse to elevate you in over another Power 5 team.
ESPN college football insider Trevor Matich with us on BYU Sports Nation. There are 12 undefeated teams left after Week 8. That's a lot. 8 in Power 5 conferences. But how many do you think will finish unbeaten after the regular season?
LSU's unbeaten, the last one in the SEC, and I don't think they will. They still have to play Alabama, other really strong teams there. TCU and Baylor will cancel each other out. Baylor now losing their quarterback, and TCU with their defense. It's very likely that both of those teams will lose a game. Clemson, I think, is the team that has the best chance to finish undefeated, because they've already got that big win over Notre Dame, and they get a Florida State team that's got a few flaws at home. Their final game of the regular season, Clemson, is South Carolina, and in the past that's been a real difficult game to get past for the Tigers, but South Carolina is in complete disarray. So Clemson, I think, has the best chance to finish undefeated of all those Power 5 teams. Ohio State would be second. Ohio State, the fact that they've been able to scratch out wins when their offense has been just a clunker for so much of the season so far means that when they finally get it wired tight, watch out. I see Ohio State's offense like a Ferrari who has all the parts, but they're not put together quite correctly, so it rattles down the road with wobbly tires and a steering wheel that's loose. But once they get that thing fully bolted together, Ohio State, they're undefeated now, nobody's going to beat them anywhere if they get it wired tight.
Where are you going to be this weekend, Trevor?
This weekend, we're home. We were at Georgia Tech, Florida State in Atlanta last week.
Boy.
This week we're home, and we're going to Alabama in 2 weeks. So we're going to get a rest, and then we're back at it.
Trevor, great to talk to you as always. Thanks for bringing it on another Matich Monday, rather.
All right, thanks, guys, and hey, enjoy the bye week. Take a long, long nap.